They made her serve mashed potatoes and clean dishes while they joked about the old lady in the kitchen, called her granny and laughed when she struggled with heavy food trays. But when 3 enemy infiltrators breached the base during a VIP dinner with 4 generals, this 64-year-old kitchen worker did something that made everyone freeze. That's when she started giving combat orders like she owned the place. And the generals? They immediately started following them. Hit subscribe and comment where you're watching from, because what happened when they saw her real rank changed everything. Hey Granny, table 6 needs more gravy, called out Staff Sergeant Mike Rodriguez from across the dining facility. And try not to spill it this time, added Corporal Lisa Chen, smirking at her friends. My grandmother served food faster. And she's been dead for 5 years, laughed Private Kevin Martinez. Elena Vasquez nodded quietly and picked up the gravy boat. 64 years old, gray hair pulled back in a hairnet, thick glasses that slipped down her nose, food service uniform that hung loose on her small frame. Vasquez. Kitchen manager Sergeant Torres shouted, hurry up with those tables, we've got VIPs coming tonight. Yes, Sergeant. And for God's sake, try to look presentable. Generals don't want to see some tired old lady shuffling around their dinner. The kitchen staff laughed. Elena kept serving, but she heard every word. Had been hearing them for 8 months now. Fort Harrison was buzzing with activity. 4 generals were arriving for a classified briefing and formal dinner, the kind of visit that had colonels checking their uniforms and majors practicing their salutes. Listen up, Sergeant Torres addressed the kitchen staff. Tonight we're serving General Patricia Hayes, General Robert Chen, General Michael Torres, and General Sarah Williams, 4 stars between them, whispered Rodriguez. Biggest brass this base has ever seen, which means everything better be perfect, Torres continued. No screw-ups, no spilled food, no embarrassing moments. His eyes landed on Elena. Especially you, Granny. Stay in the back, wash dishes, let the real servers handle the VIPs. Understood, Sergeant. But Elena was studying the guest list, reading the names with more interest than a kitchen worker should have, because Elena Vasquez hadn't always served mashed potatoes. At 1900 hours, the generals arrived in a convoy of black SUVs, full military honors, honor guard, the whole show. Elena watched through the kitchen window as they entered the dining facility. 4 of the most powerful officers in the army, here for discussions that would shape military policy. General Hayes, Army Chief of Staff Operations; General Chen, Joint Chief Strategic Planning; General Torres, Special Operations Command; General Williams, Military Intelligence. Holy shit, whispered Martinez. I've never seen that much brass in one room. Watch your mouth, snapped Rodriguez. And get those appetizers moving. Elena continued washing dishes, but her attention was elsewhere. Training kicking in, situational awareness that kitchen workers weren't supposed to have. She noticed things. The security detail was smaller than it should be. The perimeter guards looked young, inexperienced. Vasquez. Torres barked, stop daydreaming and get back to work. Yes, Sergeant. But Elena's eyes kept scanning, reading the room like she'd been trained to do in places where mistakes got people killed. 30 minutes into dinner, Elena noticed him, a new face among the servers. Mid-30s, military bearing but wrong uniform details, insignia slightly off, boots too clean for someone who'd been working all day. She moved closer, pretending to refill water pitchers. The man was listening to the general's conversation, not serving, listening, recording. Elena's blood went cold. This wasn't kitchen staff. This was intelligence gathering. She moved to the next table, continuing her work, but now fully alert, scanning for threats with eyes that had identified enemies in a dozen countries. 2 more suspicious servers. Same pattern. Wrong details. 2 interested in conversations. 3 infiltrators. During a dinner with 4 generals, Elena walked calmly to the kitchen, put down her water pitcher, reached for the phone. Torres, I need to make a call. What? No, we're in the middle of service. Elena was already dialing a number that kitchen workers shouldn't know. Security command. This is code 7, she said quietly. We have a breach. Torres stared at her. What the hell are you doing? My job, Elena replied, still holding the phone. Your job is washing dishes. No, Sergeant. Tonight my job is keeping those generals alive. The security dispatcher was asking for identification. Elena provided a clearance code that made Torres step back. Roger that, ma'am. Response team inbound. Ma'am? Torres looked confused. Kitchen workers didn't get called ma'am by security command. Vasquez, what's going on? 3 hostile infiltrators in the dining room. They're gathering intelligence on classified discussions. How do you know that? Because I know what to look for. Elena was moving now, not the shuffling walk of an old kitchen worker. Purposeful, military, precise. Where are you going? To handle this before it gets worse. Elena entered the dining room through the service door. The 3 infiltrators were still in position, still recording, still gathering intelligence that could compromise national security. She approached the first one from behind, moved like someone trained in close-quarters combat. "Excuse me," she said politely. "You need to come with me." The man turned, saw an elderly kitchen worker, smiled dismissively. "I'm working, lady." "Get lost." Elena's hand moved faster than anyone expected. Pressure point that dropped him instantly. No sound, no struggle. Professional. The second infiltrator noticed his partner was down, reached for something under his jacket. Elena was already there, disarmed him with movements that left him on the floor before he could blink. The third man bolted for the exit. Elena's voice cut across the dining room with authority that made everyone freeze. "Security, lock down all exits." "Now, who the hell are you?" demanded the base security chief, who just arrived. "Colonel Elena Vasquez, military intelligence." "And you have a security breach." "Colonel?" The entire room went silent. General Hayes looked up from her dinner, studied Elena with new interest. "Colonel Vasquez?" she said slowly. "Elena Vasquez, former Defense Intelligence Agency?" "Yes, ma'am." "What are you doing in a kitchen?" "Long story, General." The third infiltrator had been caught at the exit. 3 enemies neutralized. Crisis averted. But now Elena had a room full of generals staring at her with questions. "Ladies and gentlemen," General Hayes announced to the room, "you've just witnessed one of the finest intelligence officers in Army history." The kitchen staff was staring. Torres looked like he'd seen a ghost. "Colonel Vasquez," General Chen stood up, "would you join us?" "I'm working, sir." "No, Colonel." "You're debriefing." "That's an order." Elena removed her hairnet, straightened her uniform, walked to the VIP table with bearing that had nothing to do with kitchen work. "Sir." General Torres leaned forward. "Elena Vasquez, I remember your file. 26 years military intelligence. Operations in Iraq, Afghanistan, Eastern Europe. Expert in counterintelligence and threat assessment." "That's correct, sir." "Medal of Honor recommendation for operation you can't talk about." "Distinguished Service Cross, 3 Bronze Stars." Elena nodded. General Williams spoke up. "Colonel, what brings you to kitchen duty?" Elena sat at the table with 4 generals while the kitchen staff watched in amazement. "I retired 2 years ago," she began, "after Bosnia, Iraq, Afghanistan, and some operations that don't officially exist." "Decorated war hero," General Hayes noted. "I wanted peace, something simple, somewhere nobody was trying to kill me or extract information from me." "So you chose food service?" "I chose invisibility. 26 years of being a target. I wanted to disappear." General Chen studied her. "But you maintained your security clearance. You never really retire from intelligence work, sir. You just change assignments." "And tonight?" "Tonight, 3 foreign operatives infiltrated a classified dinner. I did what I was trained to do." The 3 captured infiltrators were taken to a secure facility. Their equipment revealed sophisticated recording devices, encrypted communications, and detailed intelligence on U.S. military operations. "Colonel," General Hayes said privately, "this was a major breach. Without your intervention, classified information would have been compromised. Any intelligence officer would have spotted them." "Ma'am." "No, Colonel. Most intelligence officers are sitting behind desks. You're washing dishes and still caught what our security team missed." Elena was quiet. "Why didn't you report the security vulnerabilities when you arrived?" "Because I wasn't asked to assess security. I was asked to wash dishes." General Hayes smiled. "And you've been washing dishes for 8 months while watching for threats." "Old habits." "Colonel, I have a proposition," General Torres said. "We need someone to head base security assessment, review vulnerabilities, train personnel in threat recognition." "Sir, I'm retired." "You're wasted in the kitchen." "With respect, General, I chose the kitchen." "But the kitchen didn't choose you. You're an asset being underutilized." Elena considered this. "What would the assignment involve?" "Consulting work, review security protocols, train intelligence personnel, Keep doing what you did tonight. And the kitchen staff, what about them? They need to learn that appearances can be deceiving. That respect isn't based on job titles. General Hayes nodded. Agreed. Your first assignment is training this base in proper security awareness. The next morning, the dining facility was different. Word had spread through the base overnight. The kitchen worker everyone called Granny was actually a decorated colonel with more combat experience than most of the base combined. Sergeant Torres found Elena in the kitchen, but now she was wearing her proper rank insignia. Colonel, I owe you an apology. For what, Sergeant? For treating you like a kitchen worker? That's what I was. But you're not really. I was exactly what I chose to be. The question is whether you learned anything from it. Torres nodded. I learned that I made assumptions based on appearances. Good. That's your first lesson in intelligence analysis. Elena split her time between security consulting and kitchen work. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to. Colonel, Rodriguez asked one day, why do you still work in the kitchen? Because this is where I chose to be. The consulting work is what the army needs. The kitchen work is what I want. I don't understand. 26 years of war, Sergeant. I earned the right to serve mashed potatoes if that's what makes me happy. She paused. Besides, kitchens are excellent observation posts. You'd be surprised what people say when they think you are invisible. Elena developed a base-wide training program on security awareness and threat recognition. The greatest threats, she told groups of soldiers, often come from people you least suspect. Enemies rely on your assumptions about who belongs and who doesn't. Like foreign spies disguised as kitchen workers? Asked a young lieutenant. Or like decorated colonels disguised as kitchen workers? Elena replied. The lesson works both ways. She taught them to observe details, question inconsistencies, trust their instincts. In Bosnia, she told them, I survived because I paid attention to things that didn't fit. A waiter who never smiled, a taxi driver who knew too much, a cleaning lady who was too interested in conversations. How do we develop that awareness? By remembering that everyone has a story. Most are exactly what they appear to be, but some aren't. Your job is knowing the difference. 6 months later, the dining facility operated differently. The staff treated everyone with professional courtesy, not because of rank or position, but because they'd learned that you never know who you're really dealing with. New soldiers were briefed during orientation. The colonel in the kitchen, sergeants would say, she chose to work there, treat her accordingly. Most figured it out quickly. When Elena served their food, they said thank you, ma'am, and meant it. When she cleared their tables, they offered to help. When she walked through the dining room, conversations quieted out of respect, not fear. A year later, Elena was offered a promotion to Pentagon Intelligence Assessment. She declined. Colonel, General Hayes asked during a video call, your work at Fort Harrison has been exceptional. We need your skills at higher levels. General, I'm exactly where I belong. In a kitchen, serving soldiers who defend our country. Some do it with weapons, some do it with intelligence. I do it with mashed potatoes and security assessments. She paused. And occasionally by preventing international incidents during dinner service. General Hayes laughed. Fair enough, Colonel. But if you ever change your mind, you'll be the first to know, ma'am. Elena continued her dual role. Days in the kitchen, evenings conducting security assessments, watching, learning, protecting. Late at night, when the base was quiet, she would review intelligence reports. Not because she had to, but because old habits die hard. Sometimes she caught things that others missed. Patterns in personnel files, anomalies in visitor logs, details that didn't quite fit. She would make quiet calls, send discreet reports, prevent problems before they developed. Because that's what intelligence officers did. Even retired ones, even ones who chose to serve mashed potatoes. Young soldiers would sometimes ask her why she stayed in the kitchen. Colonel, you could be anywhere. Why here? Because service isn't about recognition. It's about purpose. But you're wasted here. I'm exactly where I choose to be, feeding soldiers, protecting the base, making sure people learn that appearances can deceive. She would smile. Besides, you'd be surprised how much intelligence you can gather from a kitchen. People talk when they think you are invisible. 2 years after the incident with the generals, Elena was training a new group of intelligence personnel. The most valuable asset in intelligence work, she told them, isn't technology or clearance levels. It's the ability to see what others miss. How do we develop that ability? Ma'am, by remembering that threats come in all forms. Enemies who look like friends, allies who might be enemies, heroes who look like ordinary people. She gestured toward the kitchen. And decorated colonels who choose to serve mashed potatoes. Why do you still work there, Colonel? Elena considered the question. Because after 26 years of war, I earned the right to choose my battles. Now I choose to battle hunger, ignorance, and assumptions. And if another crisis develops, then I'll handle it, just like I always have. That evening, Elena put on her kitchen uniform and walked to the dining facility, ready to serve dinner, ready to watch for threats, ready to be exactly who she chose to be. Because sometimes the most important battles are fought by people who don't need to tell you how dangerous they are. Sometimes the greatest heroes are the ones who choose service over recognition. And sometimes the kitchen worker who everyone underestimated is exactly who you want watching over you when enemies threaten everything you hold dear. In her locker, Elena kept her Medal of Honor citation, her intelligence credentials, photos from operations she couldn't discuss. But every day, she put on her hairnet and walked to the kitchen, ready to serve soldiers, ready to protect the base, ready to prove that heroism comes in many forms, even the form of an elderly woman serving mashed potatoes with a smile.